What's up, everybody? I'm Blessed and Free. Welcome back to another episode of D.U.I TV. So as you guys have heard me say on a lot of different episodes, I like to bring people on to share their experience, what it's like when they went to jail and prison. So it's good to get different people because you get a different perspective on what it's like. And it's definitely good to get a female because a lot of females don't share about what they go through in prison. I think it's important for them to get that message out, and it could possibly help another female watching this to not go down those same roads. So my guest here is going to tell you her name and where she's from.
Hey guys, my name is Jessica, and I'm from, well, technically I'm from Germany. Oh, wow. So I was a military brat. Okay. But I would say that Florida is probably what I would consider home. Okay,
cool. So I was born in Florida too, so we're right at home here. All right, so tell a little bit about like your upbringing and...
Okay, so, well, I was a military brat, so we moved every single year to different states. I literally lived everywhere until I was about 13 or 14, so I feel like I kind of missed out on like this childhood like companionship of like, oh, people who knew me growing up, like really no one has a story about me until I was a teenager. So it kind of made me like a little socially awkward, I guess. Okay,
like introvert or?
Yeah, just like really introverted. I was an only child too. So, I mean, I guess that is kind of how like, I went to all military schools, military bases, you know, just didn't get in trouble growing up. And then it wasn't until I was about 18 that all of a sudden I just kind of
let loose into the world.
Yeah, I just like blossomed. Like all of a sudden I was invited to parties and I was invited to like going out with people and guys were suddenly interested in me. I didn't have like my first real boyfriend until I was 18. Okay. So I guess that was kind of like my start of, yeah, I went from 0 to 60. I just went from like not doing anything to washing the X's off my hands, going out, and then like turning 21 and just really going crazy. And yeah, I mean, I had 4 years solid of like real drinking, I guess, at that point.
So when in that point of your life do you feel like that you were starting to make decisions that was eventually going to get you arrested?
It was when I turned 21. I was completely legal to drink, and I really just didn't slow down. I guess I just wasn't tired of it. And actually, my boyfriend at the time had just like broken up with me. My boyfriend, who's now my husband, by the way. Oh, wow. But he was like, "Yeah, I can't handle you. You drink all the time." And so, I mean, I was drinking and driving all the time, just because I just figured like the worst that could happen is I would, you know, hit a mailbox or something. I just didn't really think past like that day. I was working to party and support partying, and then I was just, and party, I mean, like I was just drinking a lot and just living like an Ybor. That was kind of like
club scene.
Yeah, that was my thing. So
I like what you said because, you know, like what she just said about, you know, I was just drinking and the worst thing I thought that could happen was I would hit a mailbox. And I'm sure there's somebody watching this right now that is young and they think that exact same thing. And the reason why it caught my attention is because I thought that same way. And it really isn't like that. Like this shit can happen to anybody. Anybody can be put in a position where they suffer consequences from their actions. So when was the first time you got arrested then?
Okay, so I was in the midst of my breakup and just drinking and not really giving a shit. I actually did get pulled over. I got pulled over quite a few times, actually, if I'm being honest, for drinking and driving when I was younger. And I kind of just talked my way out of it. I would just be like, oh, you know, let me call a ride, or like, oh, I'm really not that drunk. And they never bothered to like give me a breathalyzer. It was just like, we can tell, but we'll let you go. So I kind of got used to that. And then I ended up getting an actual DUI. Like I just did like a walkthrough and booking and immediately bonded out on like $100. And I mean, I just didn't take it seriously still, I guess, because
you were in and out.
Yeah, I was in and out, and then also just, not thinking of possibly hurting someone else, just maybe myself. And I was in a pretty depressed state at that time just because I felt like I was going to college for medical assisting. I was also going to a local community college for mass media communications.
Oh, okay.
So I just felt like I didn't have direction, though. Like, I didn't know what the hell I wanted to do with my life. And
yeah, well, most 21-year-olds
yeah,
don't,
and so, like, 21...
You were right there with everyone else.
So, 22, actually, I'm sorry, was when I got my first year. 21 is when I started making bad decisions with drinking too much and driving. But 22, got a DUI. And then, at that point, I was also really depressed that I got that DUI.
Okay.
It sounds
so that's
really...
even more reason to keep drinking.
Yeah, right? And I know it sounds really, like, entitled. But I was... not taking things seriously, and so literally within 5 weeks of me getting that DUI, I hadn't even gone to court for it. I got in my accident.
So all right, so you got in an accident 5 weeks after you caught the first DUI.
And the accident is what sent me to prison.
Okay, so did you, from the first DUI, did they take your license? So
yeah, they sent me a thing in the mail saying they were going to take it in a matter of like 30 or 60 days or something. Okay. And at that point, I was like, I'm living for today. So right. I'm just going to keep driving until, the wheels fall off, basically. And I go to court, I don't know, whatever would happen. So I was really just... Okay,
so you got in a car accident.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, it wasn't just a car accident. It was okay. So I was at a party drinking. Really, I hadn't like eaten anything that day, and I went to a couple of parties that day. And then in the evening, by the time I went to my last party, I was 3 blocks away from my house. Okay. And I was drunk before I even got there, like completely wasted, 4 Locos all day. And this was before they did the whole lawsuit of like changing the ingredients because it was making people black out.
That was that real deal.
Yeah, and mind you, I hadn't eaten. So I get there, and the first thing I did was pick up a thing of Captain, started chugging it, and I didn't really remember anything after that. So
real quick, do you feel like at that exact time you're talking about, like, do you feel like what was going through your head? Like, did you think you had a problem with alcohol, or did you, that hasn't even registered yet?
So, if I'm being honest, I didn't take having a problem with alcohol at that time as a problem. I was like, yeah, I'm the best drunk driver ever. Right, I'm an alcoholic, keg stand champion, 30 seconds on the keg. Like, that was literally how I presented myself, and that's kind of how I thought it was funny.
Yeah. So which is normal for people to think that, especially when you're that age. Like, it's almost like fun to be like, oh, who's the drunkest? Let's see if you can drive. Yeah. Like, there's dumb games like that. So I totally feel what you're saying. And also, I just wanted to tell everybody that's watching this. So when people come on here, they're sharing parts of their life and their story with the world, really. So I know it's not easy for you to talk about certain things, just like it isn't for, me on some things. So and if you're going to comment, be respectful in the comments, all right?
I will say this, though, like, at the time, I had a few friends who had some DUI-related accidents where people had died. And you would think that I would have looked at that, too, and been like, man, that's, something that could happen to me. And I just remember looking at it and being like, damn, that really sucks. Like, I can't imagine. Oh, well, it will never happen to me. Like,
yeah, I'm invincible.
Yeah, and that was really, I don't know what I was thinking, man. I'm so far from who that person was. Like, I don't even. Anyway, so yeah, I was drinking a lot that night. And everything I remember, that I know about my accident just comes from my discovery. And kind of like months later, things kind of came back to me, like little...
flashbacks?
Yeah, like little snippets of things that I saw. But I had actually left that house, and I was driving down the road literally 3 blocks from my house. I was at a stop sign. There was like a 2-lane road, and this guy was driving on a moped down the road. And he was going this way. I was going to make a right. I made a really, really wide right. Okay. And I collided head on with him. Okay. And he happened to, I guess, see me coming, not even having enough time to, like, move or swerve. He laid the scooter down, and I drove over it. Okay. And he was able to not get like pinned under my car, but his scooter did get stuck to the bumper of my car, and I continued driving home.
Did you had even known that you were like that had happened?
No, I was completely blacked out, and apparently like witnesses said there was like sparks flying out from under my car.
So I can already, yeah, that sucks. But you know what, like, I guess the only thing to do is just do what you're doing now and you know, change your life around.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not like crying about it at the moment because, you know, like I'm so far
you've healed
through that grief, and also luckily the person that I had didn't die, and you know, like I've talked to him since. But
so when this happened, like I can already kind of tell where your case is kind of going. So I'm sure that the state attorney and the district attorney and all that stuff like made this article about you that you were just like some heathen driving around running people over. And that's really what I talk about a lot on this channel is like you can go, you know, steal something from, let's just say Publix, and you could walk out and a guy comes to stop you and you just keep walking, and the next thing you know, when you're arrested, the cop will write on the affidavit like the suspect stole this and that when you only stole one thing, and then he ran out and pushed an old lady down as he got away in his car. And I just like want to bring that up because they are really good at doing that, and that really affects you when you bring that with you into court and you're trying to fight a case, or actually not even fight it, just tell the exact truth on what happened. So I just wanted to touch on that because I already have been through situations like that, and I think it's important for people to know like you weren't just riding around town trying to run people over. And so anyways, you're
absolutely right about that. I mean, it was really big in the media at the time, and actually, you know, you hear that horror story about the woman who like is drunk driving, hits a like homeless guy, and he's stuck in the windshield, and you know, like she goes home and parks it in her garage. And I just remember like that thing haunted me for a while when I first heard about it, and then I woke up in jail the next day and I was like, am I that person? Like, I don't remember. And it was kind of like presented to me that way. I had no idea like if the guy was even okay for like the first 3 days.
So you didn't get right out that night then?
No. I didn't get out after that. So the police ended up following like the trail to my house.
Okay. That's what
and the scooter was like still under my car with the headlight on too. So they were able to like immediately see where I lived, where like what it was. They knocked on the door. I had just gone in my house, I guess, and passed out. And
damn.
I mean, they arrested me.
So it happened quick then.
Yeah, it was within a really short time. My moment of coherency was when I was in the back of the cop car and I was cuffed and there was no one in the car with me, and I was like starting to realize something was wrong.
Yeah, that's your sign.
Yeah, that's your sign. So like my BAC was 0.256, if that gives you an indication.
Damn, so
you could die at like 0.3. So I was like, you know, cuffed. And I'm like banging on the window with my nails. And I'm like, can someone tell me what is going on? And they're like, you know, we've told you 1,000,000 times. And I'm like, so I really don't remember. You weren't
like really coherent at that time.
I was not coherent. You couldn't really understand me.
So when you finally get to jail, and I'm sure it took like a day or two to finally like get your thoughts together.
It took hours. By the time I got to jail, I was sober. And I was like,
yeah, that'll sober you up real quick.
Yeah, I was like, what just happened?
So what was going through your head at that point?
Disbelief.
Okay.
Disappointment, embarrassment, fear. Like, did I kill somebody? And then I was reassured that I didn't, but I was like, well, how? Like, is he okay then? And no one really had an answer, and that really freaked me out. Also, like, I just immediately felt the need to like, we have to find out. Like, somebody call this family, like call that person, call somebody, and like
were you
tell them
talking
I'm
to your
sorry.
Parents at
Yeah,
this
I was
time?
talking to my mom and my ex at that time. He was like, all right, you know, all we'll should decide what the fuck happened.
Yeah.
So
well, that's good that he did that, because a lot of people will hit the D.U.I.
we'll get to that. But
okay, all right.
but either way, I mean, I immediately like wanted to reach out. And one thing that I will say too, like, and this is probably a little unrelated, but attorneys and stuff will say, like, don't reach out to the victim no matter what. Like, from day one, they were saying, like, no matter what, don't reach out.
Right.
And I felt like, and I feel like in general, with the way that the state of Florida is a victim impact state, like, so many times I wanted to reach out. I was in county for a year fighting this case, and I never did on the advisement of my attorney. And by the time I went to court to get sentenced, like, the victim had no idea that I was sorry. They had no idea I had remorse, because usually everyone puts in this not guilty plea while they're fighting their case. To the victim, it looks like you just don't care and like, oh, I'm not guilty, oh well.
Right.
And I feel like it would have even just made, maybe not a difference in my sentence, but a difference to that person to know that you were remorseful. Yeah. So if there was one thing I could change about when I got arrested, it would be like, I'm not listening to that. I'm just going to say I'm sorry, because what's the worst they're going to say? Oh, she said she was sorry while she was in jail. You know, like, I was fucking sorry.
So when you were in county jail, how did you feel? Like, because I'm sure you had to... When you first get there, especially like your first time, you're like, oh, I'm not eating that shit. Oh, I'm not hanging out with them. And then next thing you know, you're trading food and shit. And, so how did you coast into your routine in county? And what did you think of county jail?
Oh, man. Okay, so I hated county. Obviously, everybody does. Right. I felt like a lot of people... I knew I was facing a lot of time immediately. I mean, I saw myself on the news, and that was hard. And then people had questions about that. And it just was immediately like people were coming in. So the inmates
had questions?
Yeah, like, oh, man, how do you feel about that? Or, like, they just had opinions, should I say?
Yeah.
And it was like,
don't you love that, though? When a guy will get arrested for breaking into some lady's old house... And then you'll get arrested for hitting someone driving, but all of a sudden now you are the lower one. Like, bro, a sin is a sin, a crime is a crime. Like,
well, it really made me mad, too, because they were like, people would come in 2 days later, bond out, then come back. And I was like, what? So, honestly, my routine was that I slept all day, stayed up all night. And I didn't talk to people. I was like, I hate all of you. Just get away from me.
The county jail sleeping patterns.
So,
right there.
I mean, that was all I did. And listen to music.
So what do you think in that year that you were in county jail, what was the craziest thing you saw?
Honestly, not a lot. I mean, county, everyone's kind of just, they got something to lose.
Yeah. So
everyone doesn't know what they're getting, and I mean, really, it was just the idiots who were just in and out constantly. Yeah. I think the craziest thing to me, which wasn't really crazy, was the ones who came in saying, oh my God, this is it. I've changed. I found God. And then the next day, like, they come back and they're like, all right, I'm here again, round 75. And I was just like, all right, this is interesting.
That's so true, too.
So,
I've been in county jail, and, you as a guy, you always hear all these crazy stories about what the girls are doing over there. So, like, did you see a lot of, like, girls come in with a boyfriend and a husband, and next thing you know, they're hooked up with some girl?
No, I would say that's more prison.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
so we'll get
prison.
to that then.
Yeah. Okay. No, county, like I said, they still don't know, so they're still keeping you guys trying to keep some semblance of normalcy.
So you go to court after a year of sitting in county. When did they finally come to you and say, like, okay, like, it's this or that, and you had to...
The first time I went to court, and my attorneys, I had private attorneys, they tried to get, like, some sort of an offer, and the state was like, yeah, we're offering 7 years and 3 years out. So it was my max. I had 2 third-degree felonies, so they ran them consecutive. And, my attorney was like, there's no way. There's no way. You've never even been on probation. Like, yeah, you had that D.U.I. You hadn't gone to court yet. Like, you're at least, at the most, you're getting, like, 2 years. So we're going to fight. And we fought, and nothing came of it. Like, the state never backed down. I guess they just... With the media, it makes a really big difference.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I was always, like, called first, and it was insane. So, I ended up doing an open plea to the judge, and the judge did not like it. I guess it was just the way I present myself, which I'm not everyone's cup of tea, that's for sure. Yeah. So he just flat out said, like, you're getting 7 years in DOC, and then you're going to get 3 years probation, and you're lucky that that person didn't die, because I'd be giving you 15 years today.
He's not lying, because I know people that have done that.
And that was,
So the private attorney, the money on that, like, that in the end, it ended up being...
No, yeah, it didn't matter.
Pan out. Yeah.
No.
So how did you feel when you went into court, you took your 7 in, your 3 out? Like, what was going through your head when you got back to the dorm in jail after that day?
Oh, man. I was so emotional. First of all, I walked in. It was like 7 o'clock at night when I walked in. And the first thing someone said to me was, Jess, I'm so sorry. We watched it on the news. We saw it all. And I was like,
oh, wow.
Don't talk to me, please. Like,
oh, so they had your, like...
Yeah, and as soon as I got there, I was in the minis, what they would call, like, minimum for girls. And, within 30 minutes, they were like, pack it up, you're going to max. Like, we're not even playing. Normally, they don't roll you up that quick at night.
Right.
But I was in shock, and I was broken. You know, like, I was broken because, and it was really hard because, like, on one hand, I knew I deserved some time, but I felt like I didn't expect that much time. So. All
right. Yeah. Well, I'm sure anyone watching this, if they got 7 years, that would be going through their head too. So boom, you go to max. They come, they wake you up one night, and you pull up to prison. What prison did you pull up to?
Lowell. So this was before FWRC. So I went to the annex, and that was where I did Q&R, which is reception. I will say, though, it was interesting, like, the ride up there, I was the only girl who didn't sleep the whole way. Like, I was literally out the window, like, thinking symbolism is really big for me, so I was like, you know, this is the last time I'm going to see anyone, like, smoking a cigarette, drinking coffee, going to work. Like, I was focusing on that, because I was like, who am I going to be when I'm back on this road going home? Like, where am I mentally going to be? Because I couldn't even wrap my head around 7 years at 22.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So you pull up to Lowell.
I get to Lowell, and I knew that I wasn't ready. It was really big. It was big, and I mean, I was excited to just, it was intimidating, and I was excited to just get the shit started. I was like, at this point, I already know the people I'm dealing with because I've been in county for a year, but I wasn't ready.
No? No. Okay, so when you say that, what do you mean when you say that?
So immediately, like, I had been like strip
searched. Put you through the shock therapy.
Yeah, I mean, immediately we get hauled into this room, and at this point we've got like other vans dropping people off from other counties. So there's like 40 girls in this room, and they're like, everyone standing against the wall. Everyone, drop your pants and bend. Oh my god. So I wasn't ready, and they were like, you have to bend over, and I'm like, right now? So,
that's how it is in there too.
Yeah, it was a shock. So, like, I mean, I did, but one interesting thing was there was a lady who was out in court from there. She was a lifer, and she had a glove of crayons in her vagina.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, and they found it, and they were like, you want to catch an introduction of contraband charge for these?
So
and
she brought crayons in.
Yeah, she said that she couldn't get them there and that she needed to make a hustle. Wow. And I was like, welcome to prison.
Heard it all now.
Yeah, I was
Where was
shocked.
The coloring book? That's what I want to know. Oh, boy. So, okay, so you're in there, you're squatting, coughing, doing the whole 9 yards. So what at that, like, your first couple months in there, like, first off, I want to ask you, did you have anybody supporting you when you were doing your time? Like, family? You said you had a...
It varied. So, like, the first 2 years, my ex and my mom were there, like, for me the most. And at that point, I felt really safe and secure. Okay. And then I ended up getting transferred later on up to the Panhandle, which is where I met Andrea, by the way.
Okay.
And
shout out to Andrea.
And that was when I just never talked to them again. Like, it was a whole new phone list, and I let them know, and then I never got anything. But then at that point, from my mom or my ex, so I was like, all right, well, that was not expected.
Okay, so I want to talk about that because, like, my fear when I was in, you know, when I first started going to prison, I had, you know, my grandparents. I had my grandparents. So by the, like, second time I went, you know, my grandma wasn't doing good health-wise. And my grandpa was taking care of her. So, like, I got, like, one visit the last time I was down. But my fear was, like, if something happens to either one of them when I'm in there, or if I can't get a hold of them, you know, where you can't talk to your family, that was like a big fear of mine when I doing my whole, you know, my whole life of going on the inside. So, like, for you, what did that feel like to talk to somebody for 2 years and then all of a sudden, like, now it's done data?
It was hardest. I have to say, like, at that point, I just kind of held on to, like, the life that I had before that. But when I didn't really have them anymore, my mom did write, like, sporadically after that, but I never talked to her again on the phone for a while.
Did they send you any money when you were in
Yeah,
there?
my mom, in the beginning, I was getting a decent amount of money, and then, like, as time went on, it was just harder for my mom.
So it's getting expensive.
Yeah, and it was also hard to ask, you know?
Yeah.
So, and when I say, by the way, let me just go back to whenever you asked me, like, who else, like, so it was in phases, because when they left, it was like, then I had this friend of mine, Lear, come in, and she was there for me for a while, and then at the end, like, my aunt stepped up, my grandma stepped up, and, like, they were with me at the end of my bed, and then my mom came back at, like, the last year.
Okay, so you always had someone.
Yeah, it was just kind of, like, constantly switching around.
So when did shit start getting crazy in prison? Like, I mean,
so,
well, first off, what do you think... How is jail different than prison?
So I definitely thought jail was like the worst. I was like, it can't be worse than jail. Jail, you have something to lose. So like when I got to the reception center, I immediately got an INS hold put on me because I was born in Germany. Oh, so they were like, oh, you're closed custody, you're going to the main unit. And they almost made me a YO. Actually, they had just started declassifying YOs at like... I think it was 21 was the cutoff, but up until then it was like older. So thank God I dodged that bullet. But I was on the main, and I mean immediately like I was there with lifers. They put me in Pride dorm, which I don't know if you know, but Pride is like you have to have a long time. And immediately I got all my shit stolen.
You did? So how did that go down?
Well, like
Did they step to you or they just took it?
No, so it was insane. I swear to God, there was a ghost in the dorm. So I get there.
No, there was not a ghost in the dorm.
No, but I get there and like I had all my stuff in my locker, which we had like the big boxes, you know, and I didn't know any better. So I walked away, went to go take a shower, left my locker wide open, came back. There was no lock on it. So like I came back, I was like, where's everything?
Like, all of it?
Well, like all my food, coffee, that kind of thing. I mean, they left like my underwear and stuff, but
that was nice of them.
Yeah, it was nice, but I was like, man, that's crazy. And there was
So what did you do though? Like, so boom, you come back, you know, towels are on, boom, we open up the box.
Well, I looked around, there was nobody there, and I was like,
well, they're not gonna be there.
But I mean, like, there was no one even like, look, I mean, what am I gonna do? I was like, do I cuss out like freaking 30 women who have a life sentence? Do I just eat it up and take it as a lesson learned that I need to have a lock? Like, I don't know. So I ended up getting a lock.
So you kind of just didn't say anything? And...
Yeah, I mean, I was just like, well, I guess lesson learned.
Well, and so props to you for saying that and admitting that, because there's so many people that get on or that be talking to people and tell their prison story and they're like, man, if everyone steals my shit, I'm fighting. But sometimes you don't know who to fight because you don't know who did it. And I would say 70 to 80% of the people, if that were in that exact same situation, would have done the exact same thing. And don't lie to yourself because you know who you are.
Listen, I did learn really quick, though, that, like, talking shit to people in prison, especially because I was in, like, a lifer area, is not the same as, like, arguing with a girl at a bar, like, at all.
Yeah, no, shit can get real. I've been there.
One thing, like, so I was only in the Pride dorm for a couple of weeks, and they ended up putting me in the kitchen, which I think everyone has to go to the kitchen at some point. And, I went to that dorm, and when I got there, like, I had a bottom bunk pass because I'm not even 5 foot tall. So I was in the bottom bunk, and I came back one day, and there was, like, a pair of panties sitting, like, on the rail of my bunk, like, above the bed, and I was like, whose fucking underwear sitting here on this rail? And they were like, oh, it's so-and-so, and I kept looking for this girl, I didn't see her, so I took them, threw them across the room, and I was like, nobody's fucking putting their fucking underwear on my bed, I don't care. This girl came back, got in my face. I was getting back in her face, like, because, you know, I just figured at that point, like, okay.
You're all in.
Well, and I'm like, this time I have a face to put with it. So, turns out she was in there for murder. And, like, she was crazy and, like, schizophrenic. But, I don't know, like, I quickly realized, like, I was in over my head.
Did she like, attack you then?
No, she didn't. In fact, I think at that point, like, an officer came in and was like, I'll need to, like, go find something to do. And, I mean, it was kind of, like, later that other people were like, yeah, that's probably not the one. But they ended up, I actually quickly like just my bunkies around me because I was younger, I think they
kind of took you under
yeah,
the wing.
they were like, I mean, one of them, the girl like came over to me about to say something, and the girl who slept next to me was really big, and she grabbed her by the back of the neck, was like, you're not even gonna go over to her and talk to her.
Well,
but yeah, we ended up being okay later on,
but you quickly realized,
yeah, I was like,
shit can get real quick.
I mean, all of a sudden, I realized, like, girls were walking around with blades, like, under their tongue. Okay. And, I mean, like, I heard about girls getting cut there, and I was just like, this is not where
so they were getting, so there was girls there getting cut then. Yeah,
that was, like, the thing on the main unit was people had blades, which I didn't see at the, what we call Cupcake Camp.
What's that?
Gadsden.
Okay.
I didn't see that there, which was like the private prison that is like max of 15 years.
So at your time, that was Lowell you were talking about, right? What was the craziest thing you saw at Lowell? If you want to hear the answer to that question, you're going to have to hit that subscribe button and stay tuned because part 2 is coming soon. And with that, it's DOC TV and we're out.